Hello, I am Dr. Chi Ekwenye. I came to America for the first time in February 1988 after my husband sent for me. Shortly after my arrival, I found myself with a broken marriage and literally on the streets of America and all alone. But God has a way of making a way when we think there can be no way. I shortly found refuge in the church. And God has since then used many different people to bless my life and indirectly that of the children I take care of today. I got a master's degree in school counseling from Georgia State University in 1994. Then I went on to get a doctorate degree from the University of Georgia in Athens in Child and Family Development in 2000. I was born and raised in Nigeria to Joseph and Susanna Ekwenye, and the last of 9 children who were born alive. So I grew up in a little village where everything from a pair of flip-flops to a pair of little girls' underwear was a luxury of untold magnitude. Life was difficult for the children, and I imagine for the adults too. So as a child, I craved my own pair of shoes and pretty dresses like my cousins had. And when I was 8, I got my first pair of shoes. It was a pair of brown leather sandals. And even though I have told the story many times, I still have the same sort of elation when I repeat it. My joy knew no bounds. And as all my little friends in the village tried on my new pair of shoes, my joy was multiplied 10 times over. Just seeing the joy on their faces as they tried on those shoes, I recall proudly telling them not to worry, and that when I was grown, I would make sure they all had shoes. It was just a child's dream of making her peers happy, but it stayed with me over the years. And the older I got, the more I realized that many children did not just lack shoes and clothes, but also lacked food and shelter. And when I left the village, I went to a girls' boarding school for high school education. I found out for the very first time that there were children who lived on the streets. The streets were their homes. They had no home, no family, and they had no village like we did. Again, I felt they should have homes, even if they had no shoes and no pretty clothes. It just did not seem right to me that any child should be left without food or clothes or a home. But then again, God has His way of making a way when we think there can be no way. I found myself in America. I worked for Georgia Agape for about 5 years as a social worker, and that just crystallized my thoughts that poor and marginalized children could be cared for in some organized way, not by haphazardly tossing a coin or two at them on street corners. And so was born Rise Steps Inc. and all its many projects.